Allah is greater than F-16. Allah is greater than their Merkavas. Allah is greater than their missiles. Allah is greater than their wealth. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allah.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to another episode of The Narrative, telling it like it is. Today we're going out of the studio into the streets. In the last few weeks, we've seen an escalation in the violence between Israel and Palestine. Of course, we condemn any violence which happens. It seems as if Israel's attempts are to completely demolish Gaza. However, reassuringly, the world is not silent on this matter, and there have been protests throughout the UK, from London, Birmingham, Manchester, against the Israeli conflict, against the massacring of the Palestinian people. We have been covering one in Media City in Manchester, which has also been in Piccadilly, and as well as in Birmingham and London as well. Just to show how unjust this conflict is and how one-sided it is, 80% of the people killed in this conflict have been civilians. Israel even said we're going to make measures to reduce civilian casualties by giving them 3 minutes to evacuate their homes. The targets are mosques, shops, marketplaces, and the highest demographic are children and women. Why? Because they seek shelter in their homes, which are being targeted. Now I ask the question, BBC, our great BBC, why are you not telling the people about this? Why are these facts not coming through? Why is it so one-sided on the Israeli side? But we completely ignore the other side, that a massacre happened in return. So, we have our correspondent, Ali, who was at the protests.
We don't expect the BBC to take sides. We don't want them to take a side of the Palestinians. We don't want them to take any side. We don't want them to take side of the Israelis. We want them to give us balanced coverage. This is not a Muslim issue. Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine!
We're telling you, the BBC, we are disgusted with the way you have covered this attack, this
I just wanted to ask you, why are you here today?
I think we're all here to show solidarity with the suffering in Gaza and to stand up against the oppression that is being committed by the Israeli government.
Well, as you can see with the thousands of people we have here, we're protesting at the BBC's coverage of the war in Gaza. In fact, it's not a war in Gaza, it's a genocide.
I'm here to join the protest to express our outrage at the BBC and generally our mainstream media in denying the Palestinians the truth and the bias that they've afforded Israel in covering the current bombardment of Gaza.
And do you feel that Zionism is a terrorist ideology?
Oh, absolutely. Zionism means claiming the whole of Palestine.
Zionism is an ideology which believes in a greater Israel. We as Muslims, we reject that. Palestine, as we see in Gaza and the West Bank, have Christians, they have Muslims living side by side and being oppressed. Zionism is a political ideology that needs to be confronted and exposed, and that's what we have always wanted to do.
Zionism has always been was built on hatred and racism. It is an ideology based on the fact that one culture and one religion is superior to everybody else, and that's what Zionism is, and that's what's in practice today in Palestine. And that's not my words. Ask Desmond Tutu. Ask the former Nelson Mandela. He was the one who said our freedom will never be complete without the freedom of the Palestinian people. Israel is a racist state.
Do you have a message for the Prime Minister?
David Cameron? Yeah, look, I've been very clear to David Cameron. David Cameron put a statement out actually showing solidarity with the Israeli government. Actually, we've seen no statement from our Prime Minister, from Nick Clegg, from Ed Miliband and our political leaders. And actually what's been shameful has been the Muslim members of Parliament. We have a number of Muslim MPs. Nobody's spoken a word. We've seen Muslim members of the European Parliament. We've had Muslim councillors. Nothing. You know, and Muslim leaders. So I think the message is a lot wider than David Cameron. We wouldn't expect anything less from David Cameron. He's a pro-Zionist, pro-Israel politician, as is Ed Miliband and as is Nick Clegg. But, you know, our Muslim leaders have to stand up and speak out.
I'd give the same message whether you're Muslim or whether you're Jewish, whether you're Christian or whether you have no faith. The message is the same. The message is one of humanity. And humanity needs us beyond protests. And if Palestine is to achieve justice, and if we are to secure peace for Palestine and for the Middle East, then we need to be more proactive beyond protests. We live in a free society, we live in a free world as British citizens, and we have a democracy, or some measure of a democracy. And with that privilege, we need to be engaging with our politicians, we need to be lobbying our governments, and we need to take direct action in terms of boycotting Israeli goods and hitting Israel where it hurts economically.
Okay, and the top figures of the BBC, they're heavily pro-Zionist. Does this affect the way the coverage is actually done of the BBC?
Yeah, we've always believed that the coverage of the BBC has been biased. In the last few days we've seen that quite explicitly. When they talk about Gaza, they have time and time again pro-Israeli spokespeople, members of the Israeli government speaking. So that for me is the key issue.
As we can see, the world is no longer standing by and watching these atrocities happen, and neither should you or I or anybody in this country. We should hold to account these institutions which were made to serve us, including the BBC and the UK government as well. Billions of our taxpayers' money goes towards aid to Israel. So, what we want to do is we want to hold the UK government, the BBC to account, and we want to tell them very clearly that we are not going to stand by and watch this happen. We are not going to allow this to happen on our account. Instead, we are going to take action. We are going to make our voices clear to the BBC that they need to start giving unbiased coverage. They need to tell us the facts, not what they want to tell us instead. And the UK government as well, for their foreign minister to get involved and to bring an end to this horrific conflict. So the question is, what can we, as a people of the UK, do, and brothers in humanity, do to help the people in Palestine to end their difficulty? One, you can donate generously. They need our aid more now than ever before. So donate to whatever means you have to the people of Palestine. Two is you can send a letter to your MP. We have a link in the description box below. Click on that link, follow it, it has a template letter, send it to your MP and push them and urge them to speak to the Foreign Secretary to end the conflict. Three, you can raise awareness. The power of social media is unparalleled. So you yourself, using whatever means you have, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, whatever you can do, push this out there, raise awareness, speak out for the Palestinian people, and become an activist for them. Our prayers and thoughts are with the Palestinian people and the deceased on both sides. We want an end to this conflict as soon as possible, and we can do it as a nation together.